the pressures are rising of me like, how much worse can this get? I have written down here a list of all the things that went wrong. Honestly, guys, I am just here to complain today, and I think you guys are gonna think this is funny. I think it's funny now, but it was really frustrating when it happened. So let's get into it. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Haley, and if you've never been here before, we talk about mostly traveling and just kind of all different types of life stuff. And really, I mean, you're here for the personality, let's be honest. So getting in right away to today's video, what I want to talk about is a bus tour from hell. This was a nightmare, and it is honestly the only time that I have ever really had this happen. So I wanted to come on here and talk about it because I feel like I have been very privileged and very lucky with my experiences so far traveling and doing tours and that kind of thing. Like, I've really never run into major problems, but this one was definitely different. It was not good, and it was the last day that we were in this country, so it was a little bit of a bummer, and I just wanted to share this experience for a little bit of a laugh, a little bit of entertainment, but mostly as a warning to people that this can happen. And if you've been traveling long enough, it's bound to happen at some point, maybe multiple times. It's one of those things that maybe is unavoidable at some point. So to give you some background, at this point we had been in Ireland for about a week. Like I said, this was the last day of our trip, and it was 2 days after St. Patrick's Day in Dublin. So you can kind of gather that there's been a lot of things happening. We're kind of tired at this point, so it almost made the experience worse, honestly. We had just experienced a really good tour the day before St. Patrick's Day. We had an amazing St. Patrick's Day in Dublin, and we got to see the Guinness factory and everything like that. Make sure to go watch that video. It will be linked up here and down in the description as well. It was such a fun time, and I hope that everyone can experience that at least once in their life. The day after St. Patrick's Day, we went on a tour to Trinity College, which of course is iconic in Dublin, and then we had this bus tour. Before we had gone to the Cliffs of Moher, I'm apologizing if I'm still saying that wrong. Somebody needs to correct me. I'm just out here on the internet doing whatever I want, apparently. We were kind of expecting the same thing. So we had gone out west, and this tour was going to be going north into North Ireland, which, if you're not familiar with the political situation that's going on, it's a little bit more tense up in that area just because of basically the ownership of Northern Ireland. I'm not versed in that, so you would have to really refer to someone who is more knowledgeable about that to really understand what's going on. But from my understanding, I knew that it wasn't going to be like the most inviting place because there is so much tension around that area. But there is this natural landmark in Northern Ireland called the Giant's Causeway. So that was what really drew me to book this tour in the first place. This was supposed to be a tour to the Giant's Causeway, Belfast, and the Carrick a Reid Bridge. Now, this bridge was the main point of why I wanted to go on this tour, because it was a picture that I had seen on Instagram that I'm like, oh, I need that. Like, as a travel content creator, I was like, this is so cool. Like, I really want to do this. Well, spoiler alert, we didn't even get to go. So you can imagine my frustration at that alone. How this started off was we needed to be at the meeting point at approximately 6 a.m. We get to this meeting location. There's literally one other person there by the time that we get there. Other people started trickling in. We're kind of listening to other conversations, and we hear people saying that they're going to the Cliffs of Moher, and we're like, are we in the right spot? So we asked another person, yep, they're going to our tour. We ended up waiting for about 30 to 40 minutes after our departure time. There's a group of us sitting there like, what's going on? Where's our bus? We can't contact anyone. We tried to call the company. There was a bus driver that was leaving to another location, and so we asked him, like, hey, do you know what's going on? Like, we're all waiting here for a tour and nobody has shown up for our location. And he said, yeah, I saw your bus driver. She had to go back because your bus broke down and you needed to get a different bus. And as much as I don't want to expose a travel company, because I know they're probably pretty reputable, I mean, you don't become a large bus travel company without having some good tours, but I really feel like this should be a warning to people. The company that was running this tour was L Travel Group, and I booked it on Get Your Guide, and I've never had a problem with Get Your Guide. I booked the previous tour on Get Your Guide, I booked all of our tours on Get Your Guide, and everything else was absolutely perfect. So I do not think that it was Get Your Guide's fault in the slightest. But this company was El Travel Group, and it looks like the site that they are connected to is irishdaytours.ie. I am not 100% sure about that, but that's the information that I was getting when I was trying to go through, and I was trying to complain about this tour because it was pretty unacceptable, but I ended up not getting my money back. After I tried the first time, I was like, this is just not worth it, honestly. Like, I'm just gonna let this go. So our bus driver finally shows up, and she's completely flustered. It's like 40 minutes to an hour later than we were supposed to leave, and this is supposed to be a 9-hour tour. We were supposed to be getting back at around 6 or 7 p.m. The time we were getting back was especially important because I had something to do after we got back, and make sure you watch to the end so that you can hear what that was all about. But she shows up finally. She says, sorry, I went to the bus station. I had started up the bus to get it running because it was cold outside, so that she was warming it up, and then the bus driver came across and said, no, this is my bus, you need to get into another bus. So she got another bus and started driving. It broke down. She had to go back and get another one. So she's already having kind of a bad day at this point. She tried to get us on the bus as fast as possible, and this leads me to our next problem with this tour. She was the guide and the bus driver all in one. So while she's trying to figure out all these mechanical problems with this bus that she's never drove, oh yeah, did I mention that? She's never driven this type of bus before. She also is having to try and narrate and keep us happy and like inform us of the countryside. Like, that is not an easy task, and I want to give as much credit as I can to her, but it just should have been handled better in my opinion. I really didn't like this, mostly because of the experience that we had on our first bus tour. Our first bus tour, we had a separate guide and driver, so they were communicating with each other, but one was solely responsible for driving while the other was solely responsible for giving us that information of Ireland and giving us that tour guide experience, really, rather than having to deal with both at the same time. Next, she literally was winging it. And I would like to think that she wasn't, but she quite literally said over the microphone multiple times, I think this is the way we're supposed to go. Oh, I hope we don't get lost. I think this is the road we're supposed to be on. Are you kidding me? Whew, that one really honestly was driving me up a wall. Like, you should be trained and have like almost a script ready to go if you are gonna be a travel guide. Like, that's a given, honestly. She would literally point at something randomly as she saw it driving and would talk about it with no relation to anything else. Like, she was almost just like a local, like, oh, I used to play soccer there when I was a kid. Like, it was the weirdest thing. It was just, oh, driving down the road, and then, oh, that thing it has historical meaning. What's the historical meaning? Oh yeah, such and such and such. Like, it was completely random, and I did not like that in the slightest. I think a travel guide should really be able to tell stories, and that was not at all how she was doing it. There was another time where she said, and I quote, they probably know where we're going. We'll follow them. And then she proceeded to lose them, this person that she was following, because she kept stomping on the brakes every 5 seconds and never exceeding 50 miles an hour. We had a 4-hour drive to the north side of Ireland, and she would not exceed 50 miles an hour. I was getting so frustrated at this point that I pulled up Google Maps and I looked at the fastest route to where we were going, and she was taking like the most back roads you could possibly see, not giving us any additional information. Usually there's a reason you would take a back road, like you're going to a historical site, you're going to show them that along the way, but no, it was just back roads for absolutely no reason on a 50-person bus. Like, this was not an easy thing to navigate. So I'm not sure why she didn't take the main motorway, because it literally added on 2 hours or more to our trip just going north because she kept taking wrong turns. The next thing that I'll quote she said over the microphone was, I'm just so flustered today. My brain isn't working. I'm so sorry that you feel that way, and I wish there was something I could have done for you, but why would you say that into a microphone to a group of tourists? Why? I am seriously just going down this list and telling you like all the things that were going wrong, so you can imagine, like, I was like laughing at this point because it was so ridiculous that I didn't even know what to do, and there's nothing I could do, right? Like, you just have to sit there and Say, well, I guess I'm not getting out of this. We had to backtrack 20 minutes because she had taken a wrong turn down a backcountry road. So on top of the driving really slow, we've now added more time because we're going wrong directions and now we're backtracking. And I mentioned a little bit earlier that she had never driven this type of bus, and she told us that multiple times because there was multiple things that kept going wrong. We're sitting in the back and we're like, man, it is really hot in here, and it was cold outside. Like, we had a lot of layers on, and it's like blasting heat on us like uncontrollably. So we're like, hey, can you turn the heat down or turn the AC on or something? And she's like, yeah, it gets hotter. And we're like, okay, this is actually ridiculous. So another guy goes up to the front and says, hey, you need to turn the heat down, like we're actually dying back here. And she's like, okay, and still really can't figure it out. So it's honestly just hot the entire time. On the previous bus tour, we had these speakers that our guide was playing music through to kind of show us like the heritage, like different types of older authentic Irish music. In the beginning when she was speaking, we couldn't really hear her in the back either, but it wasn't too bad to where I was like, immediate red flag. But as we were going, we realized it was not good, to say the least. So the funniest, like most hysterical part of this was when she said, oh, I can't find the CD player, I'll just sing it for you. Along with the CDs and her trying to play them, it created the most horrible feedback noise you've ever heard in your life. And we're all just sitting there like, oh my God, please stop. Like, it's not working. Stop trying to make it work. I don't know why you're trying to make CDs work. And this went on for like 3 or 4 minutes before we were like, seriously, stop. Like, this isn't okay. Just stop. Like, I'd rather sit in silence and heat at this point. It was just like the most awkward thing because then the entire rest of the trip also, we didn't have any music because she didn't have her CD player. And I'm like, it's 2023. Why are you using a CD player? It got worse. You already knew it was gonna get worse. Along the way to the Giant's Causeway, we made a stop at the Dark Hedges, and the only reason that this has become a popular site is because of Game of Thrones. They filmed part of it there, I guess. I don't know because I haven't seen Game of Thrones. So if you're a Game of Thrones fanatic, this is definitely something that you would want to have a good experience at. And of course, like the theme goes, we did not have a good experience. We get there and the Dark Hedges, for her credit, is in the middle of nowhere. Like, it is kind of out of the way of everything. It's, I wouldn't recommend going there unless like you have your own car and you're doing everything yourself, not on a guided tour. She took us to the wrong side of the street because it's just a long alley street that's surrounded by, on either side, these big trees. And it is really cool. I wish we would have had more time there because since we were running an hour late and she kept taking us wrong directions and we weren't going the fastest route, we had approximately no time at any of our stops to actually enjoy the thing. This day, honestly, we spent mostly on the bus just being miserable. So she takes us to the wrong side of the Dark Hedges first, and we have to go around, which takes another 20-15 minutes somewhere around there because you can't go just straight through the Dark Hedges. There's a parking lot that you have to go to, and it's on only one side of this alley. Where this parking lot is located, it takes you about 10 minutes to walk to the street itself, and then the street is pretty long as well, and you want to get pictures like going down the street. She should have known if she's done this tour before, and it sounded like she had. To get all the way to the other side of this thing is probably a 15-minute walk just to get there. She gave us 20 minutes to see these things because that's all the time she could allow for us to actually go to all of our stops, and then we ended up not even going to all of our stops. We get there and I'm like, kind of pissed off, honestly, because like 20 minutes is not enough time, and I really wanted some good pictures with these things. I'm basically running out to the street, and I try to get some good pictures. I have Chloe take a few videos, and she's like, hey, I want to go back so that I can get some food on the way back, because there was a little like shop right by the parking lot. And I'm like, okay, cool, I'm gonna try and get some more pictures here. I ended up having to literally run back, and I still was 3 minutes late because, again, we didn't have enough time. Oh, and then the best part was we had 4 to 5 people late every single time that we were told to be back to the bus. And like, what are you gonna do? You're not gonna leave them. And so we ended up having to wait around almost every single time for these group of people. Again, really frustrating because it's taking away time from everybody else. So the pictures that I got from Dark Hedges aren't my favorite because it's full of people at this point. We didn't get to stay long enough to let the crowds kind of die out, and it was that time of day where there's just a lot of people there. And if, you know, it dies down within 20 minutes, but we didn't have the time to stay. Moving on. After we leave the Dark Hedges, we head to the Giant's Causeway. And this is basically an area of land where there's giant basalt columns that kind of remind me of the famous Iceland like slot where there's just ginormous basalt columns. I think I'm pronouncing that right. If I'm not, somebody correct me. It's okay, I'm not offended by it. Either way, I was really excited to see this because I'm more of that, I want to see nature, I want to see the cool things that like the earth has produced in these areas. And so we get there, it took 15 to 20 minutes to walk down, so maybe 3/4 of a mile. She only gave us an hour. And like, you park at the top of a hill and you have to walk down, which means the going back up is uphill. So it's going to take you a little bit longer, or you're just going to be like running up a hill and sweating. Again, that's not enough time to see anything. So like the good little passengers that we are, we didn't get enough time taking pictures, videos, enjoying the space, and we rushed back up to the bus, only to have to wait 20 more minutes because she parked it on a hill facing up so that the driver's seat was on the top part of the hill. But because of the way that the mechanics in the bus worked or whatever, she couldn't shut the door. And when you can't shut the door, you can't start or move the bus. So we had to wait 20 minutes while she's trying to figure this out, and she's like completely losing it at this point. I didn't even know what to do. Like, I was just sitting back there like, okay, this is great. We could have had 20 more minutes while you figured this out. But here we are, sitting on the hot bus, listening to you try to sing. Got it. Bus driver from another group helped us get this closed, and we went on our way to our lunch spot. She also had us like sit down so we could eat our food when it easily could have been taken to go. And it was just like, really? You're gonna make us sit down when we're already 3-4 hours behind schedule at this point? So then we are making our way to our next stop, which is supposed to be the Carrick-A-Reed Bridge, which is the bridge that I really wanted to go on and was supposed to be included in the tour. And before we even get there, she says, oh, wait, there's this stop, you really need to see it. It'll be really fast. We're gonna pull into the parking lot, everybody gets out, you have 5 minutes and come back in. Okay, whatever, I guess. So we're like, I guess we're going along for the ride. And so we stop at this place. We literally have 5 minutes. There's 2 viewpoints, and I'm running from one to the next because she is correct. Like, the coast is absolutely gorgeous. This was one of the like more beautiful spots that we saw while we were in Ireland, and I'm almost sure that there's more of them that we just didn't get to experience. But I was like, really, is this the best like time management strategy at this point? Because like, I need to be back. I have something going on later. And I know that's maybe my fault for planning something that night, but it was just something that I had really been wanting to do. And I'm like, crap, I'm not gonna make it for this. So we stop, get back on the bus, and again, people are being late. There was this little food truck. They were like, oh, I want something from the food truck. Really? Really? Oh, okay. Anyway, so we go back on the bus. We're heading to the Carrick-A-Reed Bridge, and I'm like, yes, finally, the one thing I want. She comes on the intercom and says, I'm sorry, folks, we're not going to be able to go down there anymore because it takes about 30-40 minutes to get down to where you need to go, like to the entrance building to walk across the bridge. and we just don't have that time, and it will cost however much per person. I was so fed up at this point. This is the one thing that I had been looking forward to, and that was in the description of the tour, and we're not doing it. So she says, but we can go look at it from the top of this other viewpoint. I'm like, okay, thanks. Like, that's helpful. So we get another 5-minute stop for 40 or so people to get off this bus. We get off, it's drizzling, so it's not great conditions. I run up to the viewpoint and try to zoom in to get a picture of this bridge. This bridge was traditionally used for fishermen to get out to this island to do some better fishing just further out into the water. And it's just like supposed to be the coolest thing ever. Didn't get to do it. So I literally got this picture from, I don't even know, like 2 miles away. That's probably an exaggeration, but it was very far away. We weren't even remotely close to it, honestly. And then she said, okay, come on, like, we need to get going. And I'm like, thank you for this experience of nothing. Now, I want to remind you at this point, it's now 4:30 p.m. or around that time. We're in Belfast. Belfast is in the very north of Ireland. We are supposed to be back to Dublin at like 6:30, maybe 7. There is no way this is going to happen at this point because we are just now getting to the location that we are supposed to be at. She then says to everyone, hey, there's this black cab company. It's a tour group. They're going to take you in this cab, drive you around the city, and like give you a guide, give you a tour of the city and like talk about the different like political things that have happened, talk about the different like just history that Belfast has gone through. And she's like, raise your hand if you want to do this. Me and Chloe are like, absolutely not at this point. Like, we need to like make this as quick as possible. There was like 7 or 8 people that wanted to do it. So she said, okay, it's going to take an hour. And we're like, okay, that's not adding up because she just before that told us we were going to be leaving Belfast at 5:30. Again, we're not pulling into Belfast, the city, until 4:10. So it's really not making sense. So at this point, Chloe and I are completely over it. It's been such a long day. So when we get to Belfast, she drops us off in the square and she said, we'll meet back here in an hour. Black cab people, go do your black cab thing. We got out, walked directly across the street into a Cafe Nero, which is basically like Starbucks, and we sat there the entire time. All that we could think about at that point was like decompressing because this was just like comical with how horribly this had gone. So we got a cookie, got some coffee, sat there with another group of girls that we were just like talking back and forth about like, how is this even happening? Like, what the heck? What are the chances of this happening? You know, like just kind of laughing about the situation because there's nothing we can do. So you might as well like make it funny, right? So then it's still raining at that point. We did bring an umbrella, so we just stepped outside of the Cafe Nero when we were about 10 minutes from the bus supposed to be back to pick us up. And we just walked around the square because like the city hall or whatever the main big building was, I'll have it here. I don't remember what it was just off the top of my head, but we walked around that to just kind of look at the different statues that were in the yard and the building itself. And it was beautiful, but oh my God. We're standing there and I'm thinking to myself, hasn't it been 10 minutes? Yep, it's been 15. The bus is nowhere in sight. What could possibly, what are the odds of this happening? But it was happening. So we're like, I guess we'll just wait here. We were supposed to leave Belfast at 5:30. That's when she told us we were leaving. We did not leave until 6:15 because people were A, late getting back, and the bus was nowhere to be seen for a good 15 minutes of that in the beginning. So we're on the bus waiting, and she's like, there's like people still not back from the black cab thing, and we're like, yeah, you probably shouldn't have let them do that. Like, come on. We were supposed to arrive back in Dublin at 6:30. Like, that was our scheduled time. And like I just said, we didn't leave Belfast until 6:15. We were all ready to like get out of there, like get us back to Dublin right this instant. She decides to make a bathroom break like 5 minutes. 5 minutes outside of Belfast, and we're like, lady, we do not have to pee, we want to leave. Like, that is all that is on anybody's minds right now. Here's the best part. You thought it couldn't get worse. We stop at this bathroom, like rest stop. It looks normal, it looks completely fine. Like, I don't think there was anything wrong with it just by like looking at it. Every single bathroom stall at this place had no toilet paper. Every single one. So the stop took longer than it was supposed to because we have no toilet paper and we're like, are there paper towels? Like, we're trying to find anything at this point. I don't think any of the guys had this problem, but the women's bathroom had no toilet paper. And once again, with the slow driving, I am like on Google Maps at this point, like religiously. I'm like, where's she taking us? Where are we going? Why aren't we turning this way? It was supposed to take 1 hour and 58 minutes, going the speed limit, mind you. I want you guys to guess. Guess how long it took her. I'm just gonna just wait a second. I want you to guess because you will never get it. Okay, have you had enough time? Yeah, it took her 3 hours. 3 hours to get us on a 2-hour trip. And it was all on like windy back roads. I'm like, why didn't you just stay on the main interstate? Why didn't we stay where the road is paved? Answer my questions. This is my favorite part. We're going down the main motorway, and literally this is the only thing we have left to do is get back to Dublin, and this road takes us directly into Dublin. All of a sudden she pulls over and we're on the side of like the main highway, interstate, motorway, whatever. And I'm like, why are we stopped? Like, what's going on? No way we got a flat tire. Like, this can't be real. It's still raining. It's still dark at this point. I go up to the front to see what's going on. The windshield is fogged up and she doesn't know how to clean it off. Like, she doesn't know where the defrosters are or wherever the heck, like, all the vents are. She doesn't know what to do. And she's trying to, like, use the windshield wipers. Clearly that's not working because it's on the inside. And I'm like, this is comedy. This is someone, where are the hidden cameras? Like, this is too good to be true. The funniest part about this was we were literally 13 kilometers from Dublin. Like, we are so close we can taste it, and, like, this happens. I was like, lady, take my freaking shirt. Like, wipe it off like a towel, because at this point, if you don't step on this gas pedal, I'm gonna get off and walk back. She literally ended up wiping this down with several people's shirts, and we were helping her, but, like, are you kidding me? And again, we only have 13 kilometers to Dublin, and we're like,
oh my God, get me off this bus now.
Like, get me off. And everybody's hysterical. Like, we've made friends by trauma bonding at this point. Finally, after all of that, we get off the bus at 9:17 p.m. She didn't even drop us off where our designated drop-off spot was. And I'm like, get me the hell off of this thing now. I was supposed to be in an appointment 2 hours ago. I immediately pulled up an Uber to be there, like, as we were stopping, and, like, sprinted to where I was going because I was so late at this point. I felt so bad. The only reason that she let us off there, she was saying, like, hey, you can be, like, let off here instead of where you're supposed to be let off, was because she was so late. So I got an Uber, and I headed directly to the thing that I was excited for all day, but then, like, I wasn't really excited to be doing it at 9:30 p.m. because who wants to get a tattoo at 9:30 p.m.? Yeah, apparently I do. So my last thing, and I'm not kidding, last thing, we were getting on a plane to leave Dublin the next morning. Like, we are going home the next morning. This is the last experience we had in Ireland. I'm all this time communicating with this tattoo artist that I wasn't able to even send her a deposit in the first place because of the international bank exchange. Like, it just wasn't working between our banks. So I'm like, I'm not standing you up. I'm so sorry. Like, this is completely out of my control, but I really do want this tattoo. So I finally get to the tattoo shop at like 9:30. Obviously no one but her is there. And, like, she's the nicest lady ever, and I'm very, very pleased with the tattoo itself. I ended up getting like a horseshoe shape, which Ireland, lucky horseshoe, made out of shamrocks, and then it has a little bit of the little flowers that bloom out of clovers or shamrocks or whatever you want to call them. And that was my one memory or memento that you could say is never going to leave me from this trip. And I almost kind of want to make that a trend. So if you're somebody who maybe likes tattoos, or you get tattoos when you go places, I know a few people that do it, and I think it's really cool, honestly, to have such a minimal but everlasting memory of the trips that you're taking. So if you're one of those people, let me know. But this is what came out of it, and I am so happy that I got it. But after that experience, I was like, it's like a little reward, you know, like I've been through all of this, I can at least get this tattoo. So I ended up not getting done with this tattoo until like 11 p.m. Finally got to go back to the Airbnb. And I just want to say, like, it was such an experience that I will definitely not forget, but would prefer never to do again. If this video was helpful to you, or you found it entertaining, or you've had a similar experience, please like, share, comment. I want to know all the things that you've been through. Like, it's so funny to look back on bad experiences and be like, that was straight up the most comical thing that's ever happened. Like, in the moment, yes, it's very annoying, but in hindsight, like, it is so funny. So leave those stories down in the comments, and make sure to like this video. If you want to see more travel content, make sure to subscribe, hit the little notification bell, because I'm always looking forward to new trips and want to vlog them and show my experience with you guys. So I would love to have you stick around on my channel, and thanks for sticking around today. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.